Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault, and today I'm coming to you with the final installment of my top 25 guns of my collection. I mentioned in previous episodes that often I get asked, Jason, can you make a top 5 video of the best guns in your collection? And I always say, I can't narrow it down to 5. I have many favorites, I have many that are very valuable, and many that are very sentimental to me. And so I have created a series of my top 5 of top 5s, basing them on the category like my clone rifle builds or CCW pistols or my piston rifles. Well, today in the final episode, I'm coming to you with the ones that mean the most to me and are the most valuable. And sometimes that can mean financially, and sometimes that can mean nostalgia because maybe they have some type of sentimental value. Well, we're going to start off today with the HK Mark 23. Now, this is a very well-known handgun. Some people say it's the most tested handgun in history. It was designed in the mid-1990s by HK for an offensive handgun. Yes, most handguns are used as defensive weapons. This was designed as an offensive weapon. And in that program, there were two pistols that were competing, one from Colt and one from HK, and obviously the HK won. It's chambered in .45, and let me tell you, this is one beast of a pistol. It is gigantic. And some people have even joked that this is a gun that was designed by committee. So obviously it looks very similar to that of an HK USP, but all of the controls for the decocker and safety are in separate places. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I think I should tell you the story of how I acquired this one and what makes it so special. So about 8 years ago, I was in the market for one of these. As an HK collector, I had to have a Mark 23 in my collection. And so I posted on one of the websites here locally where you can buy and sell guns saying, I'm in the market for an HK Mark 23. If you have one for sale or are thinking about getting rid of one, let me know and I would like to make you an offer. Well, somebody contacted me and said, hey, I have one that I acquired in an estate sale. I don't really want it. Would you make an offer on it? And I said, sure, tell me about it. And they said, well, it's unfired, it's an older one. And then they threw out a price. And this price was pretty comparable to your average new Mark 23, but it was about $200 cheaper. And I was like, not knowing much about it, I want one. Okay, I'll buy it. And that's when the story gets really interesting because I remember the place that I bought this. In fact, it was at Bass Pro Shop, or in the parking lot of Bass Pro Shop in Grapevine, Texas. And I met the guy and I looked at the pistol. It looked really nice. I really didn't know much about it. It had the original case. I was like, okay, I'll take it, especially for the price you're selling it to me for. Well, after the gentleman left and I got back in my car, I started taking a little bit more of a look at it. And I was curious, I wonder what year this was made in. And of course, all HK pistols have a date code. So I looked at this one, it says KG. I was like, okay, well, let me look up what that is. And it turned out this was 1996. Wait a second. That's the first year this pistol ever came out. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I investigated a little bit more, and it turned out this was from the first run of the Mark 23s. It is in pretty much unfired brand new condition. As you can see, the barrel hood is virtually unmarked. Usually there's a lot of wear that gets shown on that. The slide has been racked a few times, so you do have a couple of small scratches there. It also has a unique finish. This has what is referred to as the maritime finish. It's what looks like maybe like a painted finish, but it's not. The modern Mark 23s have one of their hostile environment finishes on it, which is not original. I also discovered that this was later in 1996 that this was made because the early ones say HK Mark and the ARK of Mark will be in small font. This one, it's all capitalized. So this was later in the run, but it's still a first year production. And having that date code on here pretty much doubles the value of the gun for what I paid for it. Now, when I purchased this, I had no idea that was the case. I found this out after the fact. So it's an unfired first-year production Mark 23. But the story gets even better. It turns out that the case that this came in is even more valuable than I was thinking. It is the camouflaged case. Now, not all Mark 23s come in a nice camouflaged case or any type of case at all, but it's all HK marked, and they came in black, I believe a flat dark earth, and the camo. And it turns out the camo ones are extremely rare. In fact, this case by itself is worth about $500. I know, that's what it's worth on the open market as just a case as I'm filming this. So, for, I will tell you, less than $2,000, I got a brand new, unfired, I guess we'll say new old stock, first year production HK Mark 23 with the camo case. The person that was selling it just thought it was a Mark 23 and nothing really special. They bought it in an estate sale and sold it to me, and only after the fact, after doing my own research, did I discover that pretty much I hit the jackpot. So because of that, I really feel like this is the number 5 gun in my collection, just because it's very historical. You guys know I love military firearms and guns that have cool stories, and that's what the story behind this particular pistol is. Now we're going to move on to something in the completely opposite end of the spectrum, that from a value standpoint isn't very much, but from a nostalgic standpoint for me is a lot. My number 4 gun is going to be a Charter Arms Undercover. This is a Gen 1 from the 1960s. Now, this is not a very special gun to a lot of people. It's a decent revolver, and Charter Arms was founded by a gentleman who used to work for Colt, who thought he could produce quality revolvers for people looking for self-defense handguns that couldn't afford a Colt. So that's the history of the company. But why is this my number 4 gun in my collection? Well, it's because this was my grandfather's gun. And this was actually probably the first gun I ever handled and laid eyes on. I remember my dad owned this. I remember that he had it in a holster in his bedroom dresser drawer. And he showed it to me a couple times. So this might be the first gun I ever saw in person with my own eyes as a kid. And my dad gave it to me. Now, being my grandfather's gun, I think it got into my father's possession because my dad traded him, I want to say, a Mercury Comet, yeah, a car, for something like a refrigerator, this gun, and some cash. Yeah, that was the deal they had. But that's how my dad got the gun, and he always kept it. It's chambered in .38 Special, and it's just been in the family ever since. So this is honestly the gun that may have sparked some type of interest in firearms with me a long time ago. And I now own it and will probably never get rid of it. The value of these, yeah, there are some people out there that do collect Charter Arms, but compared to the other guns on this table, value-wise, it's not a lot, but it's very, very sentimental to me. So this is the number 4 gun in my collection. The number 3 gun in my collection is actually a very valuable gun. So once again, going to the other end of the spectrum. We are going to be taking a look at a P7 M13. This gun is also pretty much unfired. I have the original box with it. Now, the M13 and the M8 were Americanized versions of the P7, which Americans like to have our magazine releases here on the side. They also beefed up the heat shield because these guns are gas piston operated and can get a little bit hot. Well, really not gas piston operated, it's more of a gas delayed blowback is what I should really say. And there's a part up here where the piston is that can get very hot. And so they adjusted that and added a little bit more material up here. And the M8 means it has a capacity of 8 rounds, and the M13 is a double stack gun with a capacity of 13. In fact, if you look here at this magazine, it's a weird looking magazine. Essentially, they made the bottom of the magazine a lot bigger to hold more rounds, but they didn't change the upper part of the gun and the action of the gun, so it kind of looks like a single stack magazine at the top. And you guys know in the past few years, P7s have gone up in price a lot. I think a lot of that has to do with generational wealth. When I was first getting into guns, Colt Pythons were pretty valuable. A lot of the old timers love those Colt Pythons, and granted, they are probably the best production revolvers that have ever been made. But as they reached the point in which they were trying to expand their collections, they wanted to relive that youthful time with the Colt Python, or it was a gun they always wanted, so the prices went through the roof. I remember buying a Colt Python for $1,400 and just a few years later selling it for over $2,600 because the prices were just going up. I think now, since Colt has reissued the Python and the people that really love those guns are of a certain generation where maybe they're thinning their collections or unfortunately passing away, the prices have kind of come down just a little bit. However, the next generation who grew up maybe in the 70s or 80s and have nostalgia for the guns of that time are buying guns like the P7, things that are known to be extremely high quality, rare, but also very valuable. And so I picked this up from a local collector who was trying to get some money to buy other P7s, even rarer variants. This is actually a 1988 import, so it has a symmetrical date code on it, which actually makes it a little bit more valuable to some collectors. And it's of the year where they had a very attractive marking on the side. Some years, depending on the roll stamps, you can get some kind of weird font. Sometimes they're big. This is just a very attractive looking roll stamp and size when it comes to all of the markings. Being the double stack, it's one of the more valuable and desired variants of this. Obviously, it's chambered in 9mm. This is the squeeze cocker pistol, as you guys know. So the front strap, you're supposed to squeeze, and that actually cocks the striker. It's a gun that a lot of people became aware of watching the movie Die Hard. So Hans Gruber had a nickel-plated one of these in that movie. And when I purchased this, it was just before the prices of these things went sky high. So I was interested in collecting one of these because obviously I'm an HK collector. And when I talked to the gentleman, he gave me a really good deal on this. And let me just tell you, in the probably 5 or 6 years since I purchased this, the guns have pretty much doubled in value. So if you go online to many of the places that sell M13s, or you can find M13s for sale, look at the prices, divide that in half, and you can tell what I paid for it. This is just one of those guns that has accrued in value faster than I could have ever imagined. So this gun just has a cool story for me, and it is a very cool design. It's very desirable, and it's worth a lot of money. And so this is the number 3 gun in my collection. The number 2 gun in my collection is probably a gun that has brought many people to my channel. And this is one of my clone rifle builds. Now, I did leave this out of my clone rifle build top 5 video because I thought it belonged in this segment more than that one. This is my Mark 18 Mod 1 clone rifle build. And I spared no expense tracking down all of the parts to this rifle. Everything on this rifle has an NSN number and is as close as I can get to the actual parts that went on the Mark 18 Mod 1 program. So I know there are people out there that always nitpick every clone rifle that they see, but this is a rifle that I tried to source every part absolutely perfect on. From the lower receiver being a US property marked M4A1, of course it's semi-automatic only. Lower, all the markings I've had specialty done. All the codes and the tags I've had specialty done. And everything on this is in the right color. I even have the Knights Armament NT4 suppressor from that era. Those are kind of rare, expensive, and difficult to get. It is a factory Colt 10.3-inch barrel. Now, some people always ask, is that a cut down M4? Because that's what they used. Well, when they started the Mark 18 program, they did use cut down M4 barrels to 10.3. However, when they began to run out of barrels and realized that the barrels that they were cutting down were used, they wanted new ones. Colt and LMT did supply them with 10.3 inch barrels. This one is a Colt factory brand new 10.3 inch barrel. So that is what that is. Yeah, everything on this is, as I said, as clone correct as I can possibly make it. I've had some great compliments on this gun. There are people that know me and my channel from this gun alone. And if you're interested in knowing all the parts that went on it, please search my channel. You'll find videos that I have released about it and going over every single part. So with a complete parts list. So if you want that parts list, go find that video. And this easily is my #2 rifle. I will say from a financial standpoint, it's probably my most expensive firearm. So if you know what goes on a Mark 18, from the magnifiers to the optics to the PEC 15 up here to the suppressor to the Daniel Defense handguard, the lower and the upper receiver, everything is cage code marked from Colt. Yeah, I even have a military overrun stock. I have done everything I can to make this rifle perfect. So you guys can only imagine what the cost of this is. And people have asked me, would I ever sell this rifle? Well, the answer is no, but I guess everything in the world maybe one day might be for sale, but this thing has such a sentimental value because of the journey that I went on it. The answer is probably no. I really would like to pass this one down to my kids. So it's just a very, very, very special rifle. 2-stamper, suppressor, short-barreled rifle. This thing is just awesome. And believe it or not, I know some people are going to ask, I've never fired it. It's almost like a museum piece to me. So some people laugh at me, but that's just the way it is. Now, the #1 gun in my collection is both valuable and sentimental. Now, going on the journey of creating the Texas Gun Vault, I have met and gotten to talk to some amazing people, both inside the gun industry and out. And I am always amazed at the people who watch my content and want to interact with me. And there was one person that helped me acquire this particular firearm right here. In fact, it is the complete package. This is a B&T USW-A1 in Coyote Tan. I have the holster for it. I have all of the different magazine links. I have everything that comes with the gun. It is a registered SBR. I even have the bag that comes with it. And normally when people buy these, they just get a box, but I got the complete package because somebody very special helped me acquire this particular pistol. And that person is Carl Bruger of B&T. The president of B&T has been watching my channel and has interacted with me many times, emailed me, and he has just become a good friend. And he helped me get this. So I said to him one day, I said, hey, I was at my local gun store. They had a USW-A1, but it was in black. Are you guys ever going to make one in Coyote Tan again? Because I know they made them in a very limited run. And he goes, you know what? I can have one special made for you. And I even have the original documentation of him ordering it. They made it, they imported it to the US, and what's even cooler is that it has a custom serial number. Almost all of the guns that they bring into the US have a US prefix to the serial number. However, this one uses my initials and my birthday. Yeah, it's my initials and my birthday is the serial number of this gun. So when I SBR'd this, I actually had to submit a photo of that because I knew they were going to deny it because they would say the serial number was wrong. It's not in the typical serial number range with the typical serial number prefix. So I had to submit that documentation in order to get it approved. And this, I think, is just a really, really cool gun. I have loved it ever since I saw them and the concept of them as being a pistol. It's also a rifle. It has everything, all the accessories. It's just a super duper cool firearm. And that was something that Carl Bruger helped me acquire and get custom made for me with the holster, which is really hard to get, and with the B&T bag, with all the accessories and the magazines. So that is the #1 gun in my collection from a value and sentimental standpoint. So there you go. That is the top 25 guns of my collection. I'm actually thinking about giving you guys a bonus video because there was quite a few guns that didn't fit into any of the categories that I still kind of wanted to show off and not neglect. So I might do that in a future episode. But I hope you like the 25 top guns of my collection. I'm sure some of you will like some, dislike some, disagree with my order, but that's perfectly fine. But these are the guns that I like the most. It's my collection. And as you guys can tell, I'm an absolute firearms nerd and geek. So what do you guys think? The top 25 guns of my collection and the top 5, the ones with the most value, whether that be financially or sentimental. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.